Can't wait for the return of the ghost with the most? Fear not, Fright fans. We've got the ultimate recap to tide you over until Beetlejuice hits theaters. Beetlejuice opens as Barbara and Adam Maitland enjoy a quiet life in Winter River, Connecticut. They're old-fashioned, decent folks, prone to spending vacations fixing up their dusty country home and avoiding their pesky neighbors. We don't learn much about their personal lives, though it's hinted that Barbara hasn't been able to bear children, an aspect that plays into her relationship with Lydia Dietz later in the film. Adam, meanwhile, represents the nerdy everyman and enjoys fidgeting with his massive Winter River model in the attic, a symbol of his unyielding love for his home and the surrounding community. One day, the pair heads to a local store for modeling supplies. During the return journey, they swerve to avoid hitting a dog, drive off a bridge, and drown in the river below. Hours later, however, they return home, aware of the accident but unaware of their current condition. Barbara eventually deduces that they perished in the accident and are now ghosts. Adam initially balks at the idea and tries to retrace their steps, only to find himself transported to a strange desert which is home to a giant striped sandworm. They manage to escape but quickly realize they are trapped in their home, a problem that intensifies when the new owners move in. Meet the Dietzes. Charles, a real estate agent seeking reprieve from his bustling lifestyle, his overbearing second wife, Delia, whose taste in art is almost as bad as her parenting skills, and their ghoulish teenage daughter, Lydia, a young girl fixated on all things morbid.
As soon as we get settled, we'll build you a dark room in the basement, okay?
My whole life is a dark room.
Problems soon arise when Delia and her interior designer, Otho, begin remodeling the Maitlands' home, drawing the ire of the previous owners and forcing them to use their ghostly powers to drive the Dietzes away. Oddly, Lydia is the only one in her family with the power to see the Maitlands, which leads them to form an unlikely friendship. She's transfixed by their situation and agrees to help them drive her parents away. Unfortunately, Charles and Delia are intrigued by the spirits, particularly after a supernatural episode involving the song Banana Boat, Deo, and view them as a lucrative financial opportunity.
Yeah, this could all work out. Home.
Charles reverts to his real estate ways and envisions turning his home into an attraction substantial enough to attract outside businesses, while Delia hopes the media attention will bring mainstream attention to her art. The feud drives Lydia further away from her parents, and she soon longs to join the Maitlands on the other side. When they fail to drive the Dietzes away from their home, Adam and Barbara look elsewhere for guidance. Utilizing their spiritual manual, the handbook for the recently deceased, Adam creates a mystical passage to the land of the dead, otherwise known as the Netherworld. This version of the afterlife is a peculiar arena overfilled with kooky, dead characters who met gruesome fates working in cramped office spaces or loitering in dimly lit waiting rooms. In this universe, it seems, death is merely an extension of the misery people endured in life. Take the short-tempered clerk with a Miss Argentina banner around her neck, for example. Her pale blue skin suggests she took her own life after not winning the crown and must now work as a bureaucrat until the powers that be set her free. The Maitlands soon learn that, for some reason or another, they will be forced to remain in their home for 125 years. Realizing the severity of their predicament, Adam and Barbara call on a nearby demon for support. It's not until 50 minutes into Beetlejuice that we finally meet the ghost with the most. To be fair, Burton sprinkles moments of Keaton's crazy ghoul throughout the opening act, notably in a hilariously low-budget cowboy commercial and a strange sequence that pays tribute to 1958's The Fly. These moments are enough to inspire a little apprehension about Beetlejuice, a feeling multiplied several times over when their caseworker Juno explains his backstory.
He went out on his own as a freelance bioexorcist. Claimed he could get rid of the living.
Juno reveals that Beetlejuice currently resides in Adam's model town, waiting for someone desperate enough to say his name 3 times. As it turns out, the Maitlands decide to take the risk, except instead of a dangerous, demonic monster, they unearth a perverted, wisecracking clown.
I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it!
Thankfully, they don't actually unleash him on the mortal world. That requires saying his name 3 more times. Instead, the Maitlands decide to take on the Dietzes themselves. Nevertheless, Beetlejuice manages to disguise himself as a giant snake and nearly kills Lydia's family before Barbara sends him back to the model. Following their meeting with Juno, the Maitlands use their supernatural power to contort their faces in a last-ditch effort to scare away the Dietzes. En route to the big scare, however, they have a change of heart and decide to share their home with the new couple. This decision is enough to pull a depressed and lonely Lydia back from the brink of taking her own life. Moments earlier, she had nearly made a deal with Beetlejuice. In exchange for setting him free, he would take her to the Netherworld to find the Maitlands. But as she learns from Barbara,
being dead really doesn't make things any easier.
Around this time, Otho discovers Adam's handbook and uses it to perform a seance to impress the Dietzes and their high-profile, financially loaded guests. Adam and Barbara suddenly vanish from the attic, reappear in the middle of the ritual, and unexpectedly begin to rapidly decay. As Lydia watches in horror, Otho struggles to find a solution.
Can you stop this? Otho. It's too late, Charles. I'm sorry.
Panicked, Lydia turns to the one person who can save her friends. With time running out, Lydia rushes to Adam's model and finds Beetlejuice perched atop a tombstone. He agrees to help the Maitlands in return for Lydia's hand in marriage. A deal is struck. Lydia says the 3 magic words, and Beetlejuice unleashes supernatural havoc. He hurls the Dietzes' big city pals through the ceiling, stops the Maitlands' exorcism, and defrocks Otho before turning his attention to Lydia. A reverend from the Netherworld arrives, a red dress magically appears on Lydia, and the wedding commences.
I'm Lydia Dietz and I'm of sound mind. The man next to me is the one I want. You ask me, I'm answering. Yes, I love that man of mine.
Rejuvenated, Barbara and Adam try to intervene, apparently needing only to say Beetlejuice's name 3 additional times to banish him back to his prison. Beetlejuice uses a plethora of tricks to prevent them from speaking and eventually transports them to separate locations. Adam winds up miniaturized in the town model, while Barbara finds herself staring down a sandworm. Thinking quickly, Adam drives a model truck into Beetlejuice's foot, distracting him long enough for a sandworm to smash through the roof and devour him. An epilogue sees the Dietzes and the still-deceased Maitlands living harmoniously while Beetlejuice returns to the Netherworld waiting room. There, a voodoo magician shrinks Beetlejuice's head, and all's right with both worlds. Beetlejuice earned $74.7 million at the worldwide box office in 1988 against a $15 million budget, meaning it was a big enough hit to prompt the Geffen Company and Warner Brothers to pursue ideas for a sequel. Following his work on Batman, Tim Burton ordered a script titled Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, which would have seen the bio-exorcist follow the Dietz clan to Hawaii, where he awakens an evil spirit and participates in a surfing contest. Burton was fascinated at the prospect of combining his dark style with a cheesy 1960s beach movie aesthetic. Unfortunately, Warner Brothers passed over Beetlejuice 2 in favor of Batman Returns, but that didn't stop Burton from further developing his wacky concept. Throughout the 1990s, he commissioned several writers, including Kevin Smith, to rewrite the script for Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. Sadly, the project never gained much momentum. For better or worse, Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian never saw the light of day, although it at least paved the way for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice nearly 40 years later. While the big screen Beetlejuice sequel languished in development hell, Burton teamed with Warner Brothers Television to create an animated series loosely based on the original film. Featuring the voices of Stephen Ouimet, Allison Court, Elizabeth Hanna, and Roger Dunn, Beetlejuice ran on ABC and Fox from 1989 to 1991 and reimagined the film's concept into a kid-friendly adventure. In this iteration, Lydia and Beetlejuice are pals who spend their days exploring the Netherworld, where they run into all sorts of outlandish ghosts and goblins.
Beetlejuice! Beetlejuice! Beetlejuice!
The cartoon certainly looks and sounds like Beetlejuice, especially with Danny Elfman's bouncy title theme, but so many elements are changed from the film that fans view it as more of an alternate take on the movie than an actual sequel. Curiously though, the Beetlejuice Beetlejuice trailers show Lydia teaming up with our favorite demon and traveling to the Netherworld. Is this Burton's way of tying the animated series into the cinematic world?
The juice is loose.
Judging by the trailers, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice picks up years after the original and once again revolves around the Dietz family's struggles with the pesky poltergeist. Charles, it seems, has passed away, leaving his wife, daughter, and granddaughter in mourning. Franchise newcomer Astrid soon finds herself stuck in the Netherworld, prompting Lydia to call on Beetlejuice for help. We also see glimpses of a vengeful spirit named Dolores, who may or may not be the owner of that finger Beetlejuice pulled from his pocket during the wedding scene in the first film. Meanwhile, Willem Dafoe plays an afterlife detective who used to be a B-movie actor in the real world. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice also features several nods to the original movie. Notably, for example, a load of shrunken heads, a result of magic employed by Harry the Hunter in the final scene of the first film. You'll also spot sandworms galore, a dance sequence, and more. Can Beetlejuice Beetlejuice capture the silly charm of the 1988 classic and stand comfortably alongside Burton's best works? We're not sure, but so long as Burton delivers a decent follow-up that caters to franchise fans, everyone will hopefully go home singing Deo.